tech tips and tutorials to increase your online presence, websites, social media, online donations, applications, databases, and more. This is OrgSpring.
Okay, in this video, we are going to show you how to use Gravity Forms to set up event ticket registration on your website, sell tickets via PayPal, and have two different ticket types, one with early bird registration pricing and one with normal registration pricing. Gravity Forms allows you to integrate with PayPal at no additional cost if you have the developer license of PayPal, or if you're working with an organization like OrgSpring that can do that for you as a developer. So once you've got that version of Gravity Forms in and you install the PayPal add-on to integrate, you can use your Gravity Forms to take payments. So you can use your Gravity Forms to set up a ticketing system, events, event management, things like that, even take appointments. It's really a great system to use as a plugin without needing a full-blown event system. So what you'll see here is we have a site up, and you'll see this is the second annual Halloween Dog Walk and Costume Parade from the AK Hope Center just outside of Pittsburgh. And this is an event for the AK Hope Center, which is an organization that is working to end domestic violence. So it's a great organization. Check it out there at akhopecenter.org. And this is an event that takes place on October 5th of this year, 2013. So you'll see here we've created a simple post, and we have an image up top. We have the date, the time of the event. We have some information about the event. We talk a little bit about sponsors and vendor information. Then we get into the ticketing information. And this is kind of an interesting form because we have two different types of tickets, and we're also doing early bird registration. So we've created a conditional form with Gravity Forms. And I'm going to walk you through how we did this in this video. So we have two ticket types here. We have a ticket type called One Dog and One Owner, in which your registration will admit one owner with one dog, and that's $10 if purchased as an early bird. Then you could have the whole pack, which is as many people and as many dogs as you want, basically for double that price, or $20 total. And then we talk about things that you'll get with those registration tickets there. Then we give them three ways to register. You can download a registration form via mail, and you could bring it to the event, or you could fill out the online form below. Of course, we use Gravity Forms for that. And then we're offering early bird registration for those who purchase tickets before September 20th, 2013, and we control that with a timestamp. So what we've done here is we basically say after September 20th, the prices for these ticket levels will increase $10 each. So that means the One Dog, One Owner will go to $20 and the whole pack will go to $30. So that's how we do this. And that's done with a conditional statement, and we'll show you how to do that. So we'll just fill out this form basically right here, just so you can see what we've got going on here. So I'm just going to fill in this form with my general information. I'm going to put my dog's name in here. And it's filling in the information here. And we will do the whole pack. And you'll notice as soon as I click that, it automatically sets the total. It calculates it for us. And then you also have a spot here for an additional donation. So let's give them an additional, we could say $10 donation. Now we also have a waiver here, and this is great for if you have an organization that needs to do some type of legal waiver, which we are doing here. So you'll see we've got the waiver, the information about the waiver, and then this is another Gravity Forms add-on called the Signature add-on, which allows us to sign this form. And then once that's done, we click Register. And we click Register. This is going to link us off to PayPal. And it tells you right here, you have the whole pack ticket, the item price and the quantity. and then the additional donation of $10, and it's going to the AK Hope Center, and it's giving us a total of $30. Now, we've actually already done this, so I can show you what this looks like in the back end. I don't need to do it again here, but if you had a PayPal account, you would go through the process of doing this. If you don't have a PayPal account, you could join, you could use a credit card. It's very versatile. So we're just going to go back to the form. And so now, when this is done, it's going to show us a page where it's been submitted. So once payment has been confirmed, in the back end of the form, and we'll go to this form right here. Oops, I'm sorry, this is the actual event. In the forms area, so you'll see here in the back end of the site, you have forms, and you also have, right here, if we click on forms, we can see this form right here. So we'll view the entries. And you'll see we have two entries. This was an older one, so I'm just going to delete this one right here because it is not relevant. And we'll just look through this form here. This is the first one that I submitted. And actually, I'll show you the difference with both of these form entries. So you'll see here, we've been testing this quite a lot. So it's 54 entries, even though this is really the only first one that's been paid. And you'll see some information here, some general information. Phone number, you'll see the signature pulls in. It shows the product that we ordered, which is the whole pack, along with an additional donation amount. And then on the right side, you'll see some information regarding the PayPal transaction. So you'll see it lists the entry ID. You'll see when it was submitted. You'll see the user's IP address, the username, the embedded URL. So if we were to click on this, it would tell us exactly what page it links to, and that's the entry form. You'll see the payment status is approved, the payment date, the transaction ID. So this relates to the PayPal transaction ID. It shows the payment amount made, when the payment date was, and whether or not it was approved. So you'll see that all this information came through from PayPal. So this is an approved transaction. Now, if we look at the one that I just submitted but did not complete the PayPal transaction, you'll see the difference. All of the same information, except I changed the donation amount a little bit here. And you'll notice payment status is processing. That means the PayPal transaction has not completed. And there's a reason you want this to come through into your entry field. We want to be able to see people who have submitted the form, but who have not yet gone through with the payment process. Because what this allows us to do is, it allows us to contact them and maybe send an email and say, we noticed you were on the form, we noticed you tried to register, but you didn't complete the transaction. Is there something that we can help you with? And you could either send them an email or give them a phone call to do that. So we put both of those. Now, after a certain period of time, you may want to make a note of all the payment statuses that are just processing and try to follow up with them down the road. But for now, we'll just leave this as it is. So you will notice some of the ones that are processing and some of the ones that are not. Now you could change the fields that show up here. For example, if we click this here, you see this is in the entry screen. So under forms, we were in the correct form right here. We're under the Halloween dog walk form. And we're looking at our entries. And we could change what shows up here to better see which ones have been paid and which ones have been processed by clicking this edit button. And we'll be able to change our columns and our rows here. So you'll see the active columns here. We have first name, last name, email, dog's name, dog's age, and address information. So really, we don't need the address information. We don't need to see the dog's name or age. But what we can see here, name, email, and maybe we'll add phone number. And then we're going to look into the types of tickets. We can sum up the total amount maybe, and then we want to add the payment status to see which ones have been paid or not. So we're going to click Save on that, and it's going to give us this information. You'll see here, we can then sort on this. So we have the names, we have the cell phone, the totals. we have the approved or the processing. So for example, if I click on payment status, it will sort on that. So if there were more approves, it would put them first before processing. If I click again, it'll sort on the opposite way, Z to A instead of A to Z, and now it lists processing first. So we could call all the people that were only processing or try to double check on that, make sure that they can go back into PayPal and double check their transactions to make sure that there isn't an error or that it's going through. So that's how we look at these. Again, you can go in here and view and look through all these. Look through the information here. So just a way for you to see which of the entries are coming through with your form. All right, so we showed you how the form works and how to view entries. Now we're going to show you actually how we created this form, used conditionals, and tied it in with the PayPal account. So now when you're setting up a PayPal account, you need to have PayPal API settings, and we'll walk through how to set that up. But what you'll notice in our account is we're going to block out a few fields, make them non-visible because it contains sensitive information like APIs for PayPal and things like that. So obviously you'll need to use your own information to make that work. And when we get to that part, I'll explain where you get that information and how you can enter that into the Gravity Forms part of it. So first thing you'll need to do is, and we'll open this up here in the browser. First thing you need to do is go to gravityforms.com. And this is the website for Gravity Forms. And obviously you'll need to download Gravity Forms. It is a premium plugin. You'll see here pricing and purchase. You'll see this. Now OrgSpring is an affiliate of Gravity Forms, so we will post a link in this blog post. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but by using it, Gravity Forms does send us a little bit of a fee, so it helps out our organization as a nonprofit. It helps let us continue making these videos for free. So we appreciate if you use our affiliate link. Of course, you don't have to. You can come directly to the site. And there's a couple different options. So you have the personal option, which is just $39, the business option, and then the developer option. So different options give you the ability to use different add-ons. For example, the add-ons you'll see here, none of them are available with the personal edition. So you'll have to use the business edition or the developer edition. So the developer edition gives you the ability to put things like the PayPal add-on onto your site. Now, if you don't want to go out and spend the money to just buy this one plugin, you can contract with OrgSpring and we could do the development for you. We are developers and have the ability to place this on client sites. So what we have here is the PayPal standard, which we'll be using. And for this form, we also use the signature, which you noticed as a signature form. So we use those two. So you would click on those, download those. There's no additional cost for those. And then you would add them and install them just like regular plugins. So you would, of course, need the Gravity Forms plugin. You would need the PayPal standard plugin and the signature plugin. And you would install those just like normal plugins. And once they're installed, they will be shown in your forms area. Like here, you'll see PayPal. So that gives us the ability to do our PayPal settings. So before we get into that, we're going to talk about this actual form. So we're going to go to the form editor, and you would be creating a new form. And once you created a new form, you're going to be given a blank slate. And we're just going to walk you through the forms that we did here, the form fields we used, rather than just starting from a blank slate. So what we did was to create this form, and again, I'll show you what this form looks like. So we've got I'm going to refresh this so it clears the data out. So we have a name field, we have an email field, we have a name field for the dog's name, the dog's age, we have an address field, which is automatically linked up to Pennsylvania because that's where most, if not all, of the people coming to this event will be from. We have a cell phone field, not required. You'll see this is a required field with these asterisks, and this is not required. We have two ticket types here. We have an additional donation field here. We have a total field. We have some HTML text content, the signature field for the waiver, and then the registration button. So we go back to the form, and you'll see all those fields here. Now here's how we created this. The name field is pretty simple. That's under advanced fields, believe it or not, and it's just name. And when you click on that, it'll add a name field. We can look into this field, and we just called it name. We use the normal field description, which gives us the first and last. We made this a required field, so we check that box. We can close that. We also added an email field, which is under the advanced field section. And if we click in this field to edit it, we name the field label email. And we also check this one required. There were no other additional settings we needed to fix with that. Now, dog's name here, you'll see here, this is just a standard field. So what we did for the dog's name field was we created actually another name field. And we put that name field in, but we changed this slightly. We didn't need a first and last name, although I guess some dogs do have first and last names. We didn't necessarily need that here. So what we did instead was we came down here and we changed it to the simple format instead of the normal format. The simple format just gives us one field box for name. We also made that required. Under dog's age, we used a number field. And this is under standard fields. We use the number field. So for dog's age, we come in here and the number format. So technically speaking, somebody could put my dog's age is 4,000. But what we did was we put a max of 25. We didn't think there were going to be any dogs older than 25. We could probably even use a smaller number here, but it will throw an error if somebody tries typing a number in higher than 25. For example, if we look at the form here, dog's age, it gives us a message. Please enter a value less than or equal to 25. So for example, if I type 55, when I try to submit this form, it's going to give me an error here and ask me to change that field. And we also make that required. The next field is address. This too is under advanced fields. You click address, and we did some customizations to this field. We named the field label address. And rather than keeping it international, which is probably how it will be installed on your machine, we clicked United States. And what that does is it changes from a region to a city, which is the typical designation for the United States, and it adds a state field instead of a region or a province. And it also adds zip code. So we made the default state Pennsylvania. There's a drop-down list here because we knew most of the people are going to be from Pennsylvania, so rather than having them enter that, it's default. They would, of course, have the chance to change that inside the form itself. And then if we wanted to hide the state field altogether, we could click this button, assuming everyone's going to be from Pennsylvania, but we didn't necessarily need that. You could also hide the second address field, but we wanted to leave that. We also made this field required. And the reason we did that, it's not required for PayPal per se, but we selected it because we want address information on the people who are coming to our event. Now, this may dissuade certain people from registering. You just have to understand that the more information you require or the more information you ask for, that might dissuade people from actually registering for your event. Most of the people we're dealing with, we believe, will enter their address information for this particular organization, so we didn't have a problem with asking for that information as a requirement. It's also on the downloadable form or the printable form, so we mirrored that here on our form here. For cell phone, we're using a phone field. You'll see there. So we use in the advanced fields phone field. And there's also a few settings for that as well. So we'll click on that field and we'll show you. There's different phone formats. There's an international format. We clicked the standard format, which is the 10-digit format. We made this label cell phone. We did not require this field. We could have made this home phone or any other type of phone. We selected it as not required. Now we have our two ticket types here, and we have two versions of each, and I'll explain why we did that. We called the first selection the early bird registration, and the other one is general registration. And the reason we created this was because we have one price set for people who register before a certain date, and we have another price set for people who register after that date. And then we have an additional donation field. The three of these fields, as you see if we hover over them, are product fields. So the way we add a product field is to go into the pricing fields and we add product. So when we add a product field, you're given a lot of different options, but what we did was we called this one ticket types early bird registration. And then we selected the radio buttons field so that somebody can choose between two different options. So they're either going to be one dog with one owner, or they're going to bring the whole pack, which allows them to bring as many people as they want with as many dogs as they want. So we added those options here, and then we added the price. The one dog, one owner price, if they buy early bird, is $10. The whole pack is $20. Now this comes standard with the third option. So to delete that third option, we just click the minus button next to the third option and it got rid of it. Now we do have conditional fields set up, but we're not going to get to that yet. We're going to come back to that. So looking at the second ticket type, the general registration, this is the product because we had to create a separate product for the time, the after our particular time. We use that as a second product. Gravity Forms does not give us the ability to create one product and have it differ based on time amounts. Other products like WooCommerce will give you the ability to do that. Things like Wishlist Member will give you the ability to do that, to vary your times on your products. But what we have here is just using simple Gravity Forms. It's a lot easier than setting up a whole e-commerce solution. So we need to set up two products, one for the early bird, one for the general registration. So if we click in the general registration, it's the same idea. We used a product field, we selected radio buttons, and we basically just copied this. And we changed the price. So we changed this price from $10 to $20, for the whole pack from $20 to $30. That's our second product field. Only one of these is going to show at any given time. So if we go back to the form, you'll notice because we are in the time period that lets us do early registration, the event that shows up, the ticket type that shows up is the early bird registration. After September 20th, what you'll see is the general registration, and those numbers will change. So if we go back to the form and we look at that, we added a third product field, which was the additional donation. So what we did was we just added a product field. And inside the product field, instead of using a radio button or a standard, we clicked user-defined price. And this allows somebody to enter in any number here. And then we made a note that says, if you'd like to make an additional donation, you could do it here, just put the number in. We did not require this field because we're not requiring people to make a donation, but it's great if they do, and we mention that. So we'll close that field. Now we're going to skip we added a total field. So what happens is we have 3 different product fields here, and they each are associated with a specific number depending on which we pick. And then there's, of course, the additional donation. Now, what we need to do to sum up all those product fields is to add a total field. So you'll see here, we have total. So we add that total field, and there are no changes we need to do with the total field. It will work automatically. So you'll notice here, I'm at the form. If I click one dog, one owner, it automatically totals $10. If I click the whole pack, it changes that total to $20. If I add an additional donation of $50 and I tab out of that field, it's automatically going to update our total field. So that's the total field. We need to add it to show people what their total is. Now, technically speaking, you don't need to add this to the form, but it looks great, and it's something that every user or viewer is going to want to see. They're going to want to see what their total is before you link them off to PayPal. Now, we've added a timestamp field here, and this allows us to set the time for this field. Now, this is a hidden field. This is not a field we need people to see, but it has to be in the form. So what we do is we come over here under standard fields and we add a hidden field. And that's a field that will not show up on the actual form. It's just for administrators. And you'll notice we labeled that timestamp. And if you look in the advanced section, what we added was we checked this button that says allow field to be populated dynamically. And this is important because we need this to be based on a calculation of time. And Gravity Forms uses Unix time. We'll explain that in just a moment. We called the parameter name timestamp. And this is going to involve a little bit of code to make this based on time. So we'll leave that there. Now, for the area where we start getting into the waiver, we just added plain HTML, and that's the way to add text without having it be related to a specific field. So up here into the standard fields, we click the HTML button. And in that HTML button, in this particular one, we just added a couple line breaks, and that gives us some spacing. You'll notice here we spaced out a little space between the totals. There's a couple line breaks before the waiver starts. So that's what that HTML box is for. And then we added a second HTML box, and this has our waiver. And you'll see here, we added the waiver, and we can use HTML code inside this. So we added paragraphs for each of these paragraphs, and we added this text. And we can close that. And then we added the signature field underneath the waiver. And that was the add-on. And you'll notice that under advanced fields, the signature button. So you click on that, and it gives you this signature box, just like what we see here on the form. It allows us to write in there. If you're viewing this on the iPad and it works beautifully, you can actually use your finger or a stylus pen to sign. So you'll notice here if we edit this field, we called this signature. You have the choice of background colors. You could select any color for your background. We made a gray color there. So we'll leave that there. You could even change the border color, your border width, border style, dotted. The pen size is small. You could change all this. You could even change the pen color from, it defaults to black. You could make it a different color. And then we have a little description, which asks for the walker's signature. We have a line break, and then we make a note that says children under the age of 18 must be accompanied by a parent. And we require this because without this, we don't want them to submit the form. We want them to acknowledge this, waiver, and sign it. And that's the last field. That's it. So after that, we're done. You can click Update Your Form or Save Your Form. And then you can work on the settings or the notifications. So for example, we'll click on Settings, and we have the form title, the form description. We change the input type to register. Normally this will say submit. We changed it to register so that it's more clear that people will be registering for this. And the rest we kept the same. We also changed the confirmations. So the default confirmation, we went in there and we just edited this to say, thank you for registering. Your information has been collected. We give a phone number. If there's any issues or you have any questions, call us at this phone number. And then we edited the notifications just for the administrators. So we added an administrator notification that sends the administrator an email anytime a form is submitted. And that will also pop into your entry fields. So that is our form. You could go and preview the form here. And that's what the form looks like. So we'll just close that and go back to our form. Now we need to hook up the PayPal settings. So if you've installed the PayPal add-on, you'll just simply go to PayPal. Now, if you haven't done anything yet, you're going to see a box that asks you to set up your PayPal settings, and you'll click on that link. And once you do that, it's going to take you to the PayPal settings area. And what you'll do then is click down here. You'll see we have a couple different add-ons. Your add-ons will show up here. You're going to click on the PayPal area. Now, once you click on PayPal, you're going to be brought to the PayPal screen here. And it's going to give you some information in terms of setting up your PayPal settings. You need to navigate to PayPal and you need to set up your IPN settings if they're not already set. Now, if your IPN settings are already set, there's nothing more you need to do. If they're not set, you will follow these instructions. They're relatively easy to set up. You just navigate to the settings area of your PayPal account, and it gives you the URL that you need to put in to make PayPal send information back to Gravity Forms that says, hey, this has been paid. Once you've done that, you'll check the box, confirm that you've configured your PayPal account to enable IPN. Once you've done that, your PayPal is set up. Then you'll actually go back to the form. So we're going to go back and edit the form. I'm sorry, you're not editing the form. You're going to PayPal. You leave the settings and you go to PayPal, not the form. Now you'll notice here, PayPal forms, this will be blank. So what you're going to do is add a new form. And by adding a new form, you're going to be linking your form with the PayPal functionality of Gravity Forms. So we've already got one set up, but I'll walk you through how to do that. So you'll click Add New. And what it's going to start off by asking you is, what is your PayPal email address? This is very important because this is where the money is going to be sent. The money is going to be sent to the PayPal account linking to this address. So you're going to want to put your email right there. Once you do that, make sure that that's correct, because if it's wrong, it's not going to work the right way and the money's not going to show up in the right account. So don't enter this address, enter your address that's linked to your PayPal email account. Now, you have two options here, production or test mode. If you click test mode, you will need a test account. It's a special account to work with PayPal. You're probably not going to do that. So we're going to click on production. Now, if you know how to do PayPal test accounts, you're probably not watching this video. So click on production. This is going to be live. That means if you do your form, it's going to ask for a payment. And it's going to ask for a transaction type, whether it's a product or service, a donation, or a subscription. And PayPal handles this different ways. These happen to be products and services. Even though we are asking for a donation, these are products and services we're selling. So we click that. Now it's asking us to select the Gravity form that this is going to match up with. We're going to select the Halloween dog walk, which is the form we're working with here. Now it's going to ask us to map the fields. PayPal needs certain fields to work. It doesn't need all of them, but we like to fill in all of them just to make sure. So it's going to show us the PayPal fields, and it's going to show us our form fields. And we're going to click our form fields to match these fields. And if we've done this correctly, all the fields should be present. So we've got first name, we've got last name, we have email, we have address line 1, address line 2, city, state, zip, and country, even though country isn't really being used in our form. Now, if you're familiar with PayPal and the way it works, you could set up a certain page style for your checkout. You could use custom colors, graphics, things like that. We're not going to use that. We usually like to change the continue button text here. We usually put continue in there. You can choose whatever you want. When you're paying at PayPal, it's the button that says we're redirecting you back to the website, continue. You could click that. If you have a page that you've set up where if somebody cancels the PayPal transaction, you can actually send them to a page of your website specifically built to handle cancellations during your cart. And this is a great way to capture people who have canceled the transaction. You could send them to a page that says, hey, we noticed you canceled your transaction. We don't want to see you go. Maybe you offer them an immediate discount, or maybe you offer to call them and try to find out what the problem was, or maybe you just try to figure out what the problem is on that page and redirect them back to the form so they could refill out the form and go back to PayPal. Whatever it is, you can put that in a special page and put that here. Now, we also want to tell PayPal that we don't need a shipping address. Since this is not a physical ticket and people are coming to our event, we're not shipping them something. We don't want to have them waste time entering a shipping address. So we're going to tell PayPal, do not prompt the buyer to include a shipping address. Also, we've already got their address from the form. We don't want to prompt the buyer to include a note with payment. So it's one less form they have to fill out. Now, notifications can be sent only when a payment is received, which when PayPal tells Gravity Forms that the payment has been received, we can send the notification. We want to send the notification all the time, so we'll leave that unchecked. And then we could set a condition when this form should be submitted to PayPal, like if one field is missing, don't submit. This is a PayPal condition. We don't need that. So I'm going to hit cancel because I already have this set up. But if you were doing this form, you would hit save. And that's going to have your PayPal form set up. So now, excuse me, we have everything we need to run this form and link it to PayPal. The only thing we did not discuss yet is how we set up the conditional statement. So we're going to show you that right now. We're going to go to Forms. We're going to go to Edit the Halloween Dog Walk form. And we're going to come down to our products. Now, we said before that this was based on a date. Now, Gravity Forms uses the Unix date. It's a code. It takes your date and transfers it to a code. It's really computer language for a date. So it doesn't look pretty like September 20th, 2013 or October 5th, 2013. So at the time of the making of this video, Gravity Forms relies on Unix. So we use a Unix converter, and I'll show you that in a moment. It'll put a link in this video as well. But what we have here are our two products. One shows up before the date. One of the products shows up after the date. And if you remember, we went in here when we created this form, we used something called a hidden field, which we called timestamp. Now, inside this field, inside our product field, the early bird registration, we go into this field and we click Advanced. And we're going to enable the conditional logic. So select this field. And then this button is going to show up that says, show this field if all of the following conditions match. We're going to select our timestamp field, and we're going to make it less than a number. So we click less than, and then we're going to insert a number. And this number is going to be different depending on what your date is. Now, this number here corresponds to September 20th, 2013. The early bird registration is going to show up before September 20th. So we put, as long as our timestamp is less than September 20th. Now, how did we get this date? Great question. There's a great website called the Epoch Converter, epochconverter.com, and you'll see that here in the video below. You'll notice here, it gives you the current epoch time running, and if we hover over that, it stops, so it allows us to select it. We move off, it keeps running. Now, if we want to convert to a timestamp, date and timestamp, we'll enter our information in here. So for example, we'll put September, which is 9/20/2013. We don't need the hours, so we'll just zero that out. And we'll select Eastern Time or local time. My computer is set to Eastern Time, so it knows. So we'll click Human Date to Timestamp. We click that button, and it gives us a number right here. The epoch timestamp, 137-964-9600. And you'll notice on our Gravity Forms, that's exactly what we have here. So the date, September 20th, 2013, basically at midnight that day when it changes over to that day, is this timestamp. So we take that timestamp and we put it in there. Now, after that date, we want the general registration to show up where it's the increased price amount. So we have in the general registration, we go to Advanced and we select Enable Conditional Logic. And we're going to change this. So this will show up as show this field if all of the following match. We're going to change that to any. And we're going to select timestamp again is, we're going to put that number. That means if the current date at the time of form submission happens to be this timestamp, that means that date, it will apply. Then we click the plus button to add another one, which is timestamp is greater than that date. So that means that if the date is exactly that date or greater than that date, this product will show up and not the early bird registration. And that's how we handle time-based registration with an early bird offering and different prices. Now, once that's done, you can close out this field. You've edited all your fields. You have the conditional statements in there to make the form pop when it needs to pop. And you're just going to update your form, and that will save the form. Again, at this point, now you're completely ready to roll. You have everything that you need. You have PayPal set up, you have your signature set up, you have the waiver in there, you have the required fields, the non-required fields. PayPal is completely set, the conditional fields are done, the timestamp is done. You can click the preview button, and that will show you exactly what you get at this point. And you can go through here and test it and make sure that it links you over to PayPal. When you've confirmed that it's working correctly, you can close out the form. and then insert the form on your page. So you can go to a page or post. We're not going to cover that in this video, but you can go to a page or post and insert that directly into your page or post using the Gravity Forms icon that allows you to insert. So if you have any questions, again, look in the description of this video and you'll see a link to the post that goes along with this video on our website. And if you have any questions, drop us a note, leave us a comment either here on YouTube or on our blog post, and we will try to answer any question that you have in relation to setting up a conditional form just like this. Thanks for watching. We hope you come back and check out our other videos.